When humanity's predator instinct awoke, the galaxy trembled, the sleeping giants, the celestial Accord space station, floated serenely in the neutral zone between star systems, a monument to peaceful coexistence. Its gleaming white structure stretched across 3 kilometers of space, housing representatives from 237 different species. For 5 centuries, this station had served as the heart of galactic diplomacy, where conflicts were resolved through discussion rather than destruction. Director James Kovacs stood before the observation window in the human diplomatic wing, watching shuttlecraft arrive and depart. He was a man in his mid-50s, with gray threading through his dark hair and lines around his eyes that spoke of years spent negotiating delicate treaties. His simple black suit bore no military insignia, no weapons, nothing to suggest he was anything more than a career diplomat. That was precisely the point. Behind him, Dr. Elena Reeves reviewed data on her tablet. She was younger, barely 40, with auburn hair tied back in a practical style. As the Accord's leading xenobiologist, she had spent 2 decades studying alien cultures, helping humanity understand the strange and wonderful species they shared the galaxy with. She looked up from her screen with concern creasing her forehead. "The Vryn have taken another system," she said quietly. "That makes 12 in the past 6 months. The Accord's diplomatic envoys were rejected before their ships even entered orbit." James didn't turn from the window. "Which system?" "Teller 9, population of 8 million. The Palaxians didn't even attempt to resist. They're a peaceful agricultural society. They don't have a word for soldier in their language." Elena's voice carried frustration and sorrow. "The Vryn enslaved them within 48 hours. Did the Accord Security Council respond?" "They issued a formal condemnation and requested a dialogue session." Elena set down her tablet. "James, condemnations don't stop the Vryn. Dialogue requests get ignored. We've tried this approach 11 times now. It doesn't work." James finally turned to face her. His expression was calm, but Elena had worked with him long enough to recognize the controlled tension in his jaw. "What would you have us do, Elena? The Accord was founded on principles of nonviolence. Every species here evolved on worlds with minimal predation. They don't understand conflict resolution through force because they've never needed to. But humans understand it," Elena said carefully. "We evolved on Earth. We know what it means to fight for survival. Which is exactly why we've spent 80 years convincing everyone that we're just like them," James replied. He moved to his desk and activated a holographic display showing the Accord's member species. "Look at them. The Palaxians evolved from herd animals on a world with no apex predators. The Xinthians developed intelligence in the safety of underwater cities. The Etherians are energy beings who've never experienced physical threat. They're all fundamentally peaceful because their evolution never required them to be anything else." Elena approached the display, studying the diverse species. "And when we humans arrived 80 years ago? We terrified them," James said bluntly. "Our initial contact teams didn't understand how different we were. We talked about our history, our wars, our competition, our concept of conquest and defense. The Accord Council nearly voted to quarantine our entire species. They saw us as dangerous primitives who hadn't evolved past violence. So we hid who we really are. We adapted," James corrected. "We showed them our art, our music, our philosophy. We became stellar mediators because we understand both cooperation and conflict. We built trade networks and cultural exchange programs. We proved we could be peaceful." "While building something else in secret," Elena said. James met her eyes. "While preparing for the day when peace wouldn't be enough." A chime interrupted them. Captain David Torres entered the office, his civilian pilot's uniform crisp and professional. He was a stocky man with dark skin and an easy smile that put alien passengers at ease during commercial flights. Most of his alien colleagues knew him as a friendly cargo hauler who told entertaining stories about Earth's diverse ecosystems. None of them knew he had commanded a battlecruiser squadron before retiring to civilian service. "Director," Torres said, his smile absent. "We need to talk privately." James nodded to Elena. She understood the dismissal and left without argument. Some things were still compartmentalized, even among trusted colleagues. When the door sealed behind her, Torres activated a privacy field that would prevent any surveillance. "The Vryn fleet is moving," Torres said without preamble. "Our deep space observation posts detected them 3 hours ago. They're heading toward the Kepler cluster." James felt his heart rate increase, though his expression remained neutral. Estimated arrival time? 60 hours. Maybe less if they push their engines. Torres pulled up a star chart showing the Vryn fleet's trajectory. The Kepler cluster has 14 inhabited worlds. Total population of 40 million. 30% are human colonists, and the other 70%? Mixed species. Xinthians, Palaxians, Etherians, and a dozen others. It's one of the Accord's most successful integration projects. Torres's jaw tightened. It's also completely defenseless. The Accord doesn't believe in military installations on civilian worlds. James studied the star chart in silence. The Kepler cluster represented everything humanity had worked toward in the Accord. Peaceful coexistence, shared prosperity, genuine friendship between species. Human families live side by side with aliens, their children playing together, their cultures blending into something new and beautiful, and the Vryn Empire was going to destroy it all. How many ships are in their fleet? James asked. 200 warships, including their dreadnoughts. Torres zoomed in on the sensor data. The Vryn don't do subtle. They overwhelm through numerical superiority and brutal efficiency. Based on their previous conquest, they'll issue a surrender demand. When it's inevitably refused, they'll begin orbital bombardment of military targets. Except the Kepler worlds don't have military targets, so they'll bombard anything that could potentially be used for resistance. Power generation, communication arrays, transportation hubs. Civilian casualties? Projected at 60% within the first week. Torres's voice was flat, professional, but James heard the suppressed rage underneath. The survivors will be enslaved. The Vryn are efficient at resource extraction. They'll work the population until they're no longer useful, then abandon the system and move on. James walked back to the observation window. Outside he could see a Palaxian diplomatic shuttle docking. Its organic curves a stark contrast to the angular human vessels nearby. The Palaxians had joined the Accord 300 years ago and had never experienced war. They wouldn't even comprehend what was coming. The Accord Council won't authorize military intervention, James said. They'll try diplomacy until the Vryn are bombing civilian centers. By then it will be too late, so what do we do? Torres asked. Sir, I have contacts throughout the fleet network. Every human pilot, every commercial captain, every civilian crew member knows what they're really part of. We've been training in secret for 80 years. We've built weapon systems disguised as cargo containers. We've established supply depots hidden as mining operations. We're ready. We just need authorization. James turned from the window. If we reveal our military capabilities, the Accord will never trust us again. Many species will see us as the threat we've been trying to prove we're not. Everything we've built over 80 years could collapse. And if we don't act, 40 million beings will die or be enslaved. 12 million of them are humans, but that's not why we'd fight. We'd fight because it's the right thing to do. Because someone has to. Torres stepped closer. Director, you've spent your career building bridges between humanity and the Accord. I respect that. But bridges only matter if there's something worth connecting. If we let the Vryn destroy everything we've built, what's the point of trust and diplomacy? James was silent for a long moment. He thought about the human colonists in the Kepler cluster. Farmers, teachers, engineers, artists. He thought about their alien neighbors who had welcomed them, who had become friends and family. He thought about the children, human and alien, who knew nothing of war or cruelty. He thought about what humanity really was beneath the peaceful facade. Captain Torres, he said formally, please transmit the following message through the secure network. Authorization, Kovac Alpha 7. Message reads, Protocol Apex is now active. All units are authorized to reveal defensive capabilities and move to protect Accord territories. Rules of engagement: protect civilian populations, minimize collateral damage, offer enemy forces opportunity to surrender. This is not a conquest operation. This is a Guardian action. Torres straightened. Understood, sir. The fleet will be ready within 12 hours. One more thing, James added. Send a message to Elena Reeves. Tell her it's time for humanity to tell the truth about where we come from and what we are. The Accord is going to learn about evolution on Earth. They're going to learn about predators and prey, about survival of the fittest, about what it means to fight for your family. Should I include our historical military data? Everything, James confirmed. Our wars, our weapons development, our tactical doctrines. They need to understand that we're not like them. We never were. We're apex predators who chose to be civilized, but we never forgot how to hunt. Torres saluted, a gesture rarely seen in the Accord's peaceful corridors. It's been an honor serving undercover, sir. I'm glad we finally get to drop the act. After Torres left, James stood alone in his office. Through the window, he watched the peaceful traffic around the station. Alien species going about their lives completely unaware that everything was about to change. His communication panel chimed. Elena's face appeared, confusion evident in her expression. James, I just received a very strange message from Captain Torres. Something about Protocol Apex? Come back to my office, James said. Bring your comprehensive files on human evolution, especially the parts about predatory behavior and pack hunting. You're going to give a presentation to the Accord Council that will change everything they think they know about us. Elena's eyes widened as understanding dawned. You're authorizing military action. I'm authorizing protection, James corrected. There's a difference. The Vrin want conquest and slaves. We want to keep innocent beings alive and free. Humanity is about to remind the galaxy that not all species evolved in peace. Some of us evolved in conflict, and we learned to be very, very good at it. The Accord will be afraid of us. Perhaps, James acknowledged. But fear based on truth is better than trust based on deception. And more importantly, the beings in the Kepler cluster will be alive to fear us or thank us or whatever they choose. Elena was quiet for a moment. You know what this means? Once we reveal ourselves, we can never go back. Humanity will be forever changed in the eyes of the galaxy. James looked out at the stars, at the vast galaxy filled with peaceful species who had never learned to fight because they'd never needed to. Someone had to protect them. Someone who understood both the cost of violence and the necessity of strength. Then we'll be changed, he said quietly. We'll be the guardians they never knew they needed. We'll be the predators who hunt other predators. We'll be the monsters who protect innocents from worse monsters. He pulled up another display showing real-time data from human settlements across the galaxy. Thousands of seemingly civilian vessels going about their business. Cargo ships, passenger liners, research vessels, mining operations, all of them hiding capabilities that would shock the peaceful species of the Accord. All of them waiting for the signal to transform. Send the activation codes, James ordered. It's time for humanity to wake up. The sleeping giants are about to open their eyes, and the galaxy will never be the same. Across the galaxy in thousands of human vessels and settlements, encrypted messages arrived simultaneously. Civilian pilots read their orders and felt something primal stir in their chests. An ancient instinct that had been waiting patiently for 80 years. The hunt was beginning, and humanity always protected its pack. The awakening storm, the transformation began in silence. Thousands of light years from the celestial Accord station, the cargo vessel Prairie Star had been hauling agricultural equipment to a frontier colony when the encrypted signal arrived. Captain Maria Chen read the message twice, then activated her ship's internal communications. All hands, this is the captain. Secure for combat transformation. Civilians to emergency pods. Military personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency. The dozen passengers who had been lounging in the common areas shed their civilian personas like discarded clothing. Within minutes, they wore combat gear and carried weapons that had been hidden in cargo containers marked as farming equipment. The Prairie Star itself began to change. Hull panels slid aside, revealing weapon ports that had been concealed for years. Sensor arrays that appeared to be simple communication dishes rotated to show their true purpose as targeting systems. The ship's engines, which had operated at conservative civilian speeds, activated military-grade boosters that tripled their maximum velocity. Across the galaxy, 2,000 human vessels underwent similar transformations. Passenger liners revealed fighter bays hidden behind decorative hull plating. Research ships displayed missile batteries disguised as scientific equipment. Even small personal yachts opened compartments containing weapons that could disable larger vessels. The peaceful facade had fallen away, revealing something that had been there all along, waiting patiently beneath the surface. On the Celestial Accord station, Dr. Elena Reeves stood before the full council, a holographic display floating behind her showing images from Earth's ancient past. The assembled aliens watched with mixture of fascination and growing horror as she explained humanity's true nature. This is a Smilodon fatalis, Elena said, gesturing to the image of a saber-toothed cat. 10,000 years ago, it was one of many apex predators on Earth. It hunted in packs, coordinated attacks, and could bring down prey much larger than itself. She changed the image to show a pack of wolves surrounding a bison. This is Canis lupus, the gray wolf. They're still alive on Earth today. They hunt cooperatively, communicate through complex signals, and will defend their pack members to the death. The alien council members shifted uncomfortably. These concepts were foreign to species who had evolved without significant predation. Elena took a breath and changed the image one more time. This showed early humans, barely recognizable, hunting a mammoth with primitive spears. And this is Homo sapiens. My species, your diplomatic partners for 80 years. We evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill us or eat us. We survived by becoming better hunters than the hunters, better predators than the predators. But you're civilized, protested Council Member Thalos, a Xinthian whose species had evolved in peaceful underwater cities. You've shown us your art, your music, your philosophy. You're not animals. We're both, Elena said quietly. That's what makes us different from you. We chose civilization. We chose cooperation and peace and diplomacy, but we chose it while knowing the alternative. We understand violence because we evolved through it. And now when violence threatens peaceful beings, we remember what we are. Director James Kovacs entered the council chamber, and the assembled aliens saw something in his expression they had never seen before. The friendly, patient diplomat was gone. In his place stood something older, something that had been hiding behind kind smiles and gentle words. The Vryn fleet will reach the Kepler cluster in 52 hours, James announced. Our projections show they will kill or enslave 40 million beings. The Accord's diplomatic solutions have failed 12 times against the Vryn. They will fail again because the Vryn don't respect diplomatic solutions. They respect strength. So humanity will provide strength? Council Leader Vexian asked, his crystalline form flickering with uncertain colors. You will fight? We will protect, James corrected. There's a difference. The Vryn seek conquest. We seek to preserve lives. If they withdraw peacefully, no one dies. If they attack, we will stop them with the minimum force necessary. But you hid military capabilities from this council, Vexian protested. You deceived us for 80 years. We showed you what you were ready to see, James replied. If humanity had arrived in this galaxy with warships and weapons, how would you have responded? You would have feared us, isolated us, perhaps tried to neutralize us. Instead, we gave you time to know us, to see that we value the same things you do: peace, cooperation, growth. Now you need to decide if you trust what you've learned about us over 80 years, or if you'll let fear override that knowledge. Captain David Torres's face appeared on the Council's communication screens, broadcasting from the bridge of a vessel that the Council had known as a simple cargo hauler. Behind him they could see military personnel at tactical stations, weapon systems displays, and combat readiness indicators. Human fleet is assembled, Torres reported. 147 vessels converted to military configuration. We have 17 battle cruisers, 32 destroyers, 41 frigates, and 57 support craft. Total combat personnel 22,000. We're coordinating with human ground forces in the Kepler cluster. Defensive positions are being established around civilian population centers. The alien council members stared at the displays in shock. In less than 12 hours, humanity had revealed a military force that rivaled the largest fleets in the Accord. All of it had been hidden in plain sight, disguised as peaceful civilian activities. How long have you been preparing for this? Thalos asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Since the day we joined the Accord, Elena answered honestly. We hoped we'd never need it. We wanted to believe the galaxy was as peaceful as you told us. But hope isn't a strategy. We prepared for the worst while working for the best. And now we're heading to the Kepler cluster, Torres continued. We'll arrive 6 hours before the Vryn fleet. That gives us time to evacuate non-combatants to secure locations and prepare defensive positions. Council members, you're welcome to send observers. We have nothing to hide anymore. The council erupted in debate, dozens of species arguing about trust, deception, military force, and philosophical principles. James let them argue. He understood their confusion and fear. They were confronting something their evolution had never prepared them for, a species. They could be both gentle friends and lethal warriors, but he didn't have time to wait for them to process it. Captain Torres, James said, cutting through the debate. You are authorized to proceed with defensive operations. Protect all civilians regardless of species. Rules of engagement remain in effect. We're guardians, not conquerors. Understood, Director. Fleet is moving out. Torres's image disappeared from the screens. In the Kepler cluster, the human colonists were already mobilizing. What the aliens had thought were simple farming communities revealed themselves to be something more organized. Every human settlement had emergency bunkers, communication networks, and weapons stockpiles. It wasn't paranoia. It was prepared caution from a species that remembered what unpreparedness cost. Maya Patel had been a schoolteacher on Kepler 7, teaching human and alien children about literature and art. Now she was helping load children into underground shelters while wearing body armor over her civilian clothes. Her students, both human and alien, looked at her with wide, frightened eyes. "Ms. Patel, what's happening?" asked a young Palaxian child, his fur bristling with fear. Maya knelt down to the child's level, her voice gentle despite the urgency. "Some bad people are coming, sweetie. But don't worry. Humans are very, very good at protecting our friends. You're part of our pack now, and we protect our pack." She didn't tell the child that she had spent 15 years in Earth's military before becoming a teacher. She didn't mention that every adult human in the colony had similar backgrounds. The Accord believed humans were peaceful teachers, artists, and farmers. They were right, but they didn't understand that humans could be many things at once. The human fleet arrived at the Kepler cluster with precision that spoke of extensive training. The vessels spread out in a defensive formation around the inhabited worlds, each ship positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire while maintaining clear evacuation routes for civilian craft. On the flagship Determination, Captain Torres studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. His crew worked with the smooth efficiency of people who had drilled these scenarios countless times in secret. Every person at every station knew their role perfectly. "Status report," Torres ordered. "All human vessels in position," reported his tactical officer. "Defensive satellites are deployed. Ground forces report civilian evacuation at 70% completion. Local militia are armed and positioned." "Militia?" Torres raised an eyebrow. "The colonists, sir. Turns out every human settlement has organized defense volunteers. They train in their spare time, use hunting equipment as cover for weapons practice." "Very creative," Torres smiled grimly. "We're good at hiding in plain sight. What about our alien friends?" "Confused but cooperative. The Zynthians are asking a lot of questions about why we have weapons. The Palaxians are mostly just grateful someone's protecting them. The Etherians are analyzing our tactics with academic interest. Keep them informed. This isn't just about defending humans, it's about defending everyone. We're proving we can be trusted with power." 20 hours later, the Vryn fleet arrived at the edge of the Kepler system. Their ships were brutal utilitarian designs focused entirely on combat efficiency. Massive dreadnoughts led the formation, surrounded by swarms of smaller attack vessels. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never encountered serious resistance. The Vryn commander, General Cross, surveyed the system with satisfaction. The intelligence reports had described the Kepler cluster as a soft target, peaceful mixed-species colonies with no military defenses. Easy prey for the Empire's expansion. Then his sensors officer spoke up, confusion in his voice. "General, I'm detecting anomalous readings. There appear to be military vessels in defensive formations around the inhabited worlds." "What species?" Cross demanded. The Accord didn't maintain military fleets. That was the reason they were such easy targets. "Identification codes indicate human vessels?" The officer sounded uncertain. "But our intelligence says humans are peaceful diplomats and traders. These ships are displaying weapon systems comparable to our own." Cross brought up the sensor data on his command display. What he saw made no sense. The Accord species he had conquered previously had either no military vessels or outdated defensive craft operated by beings with no combat experience. These human ships were positioned with tactical precision that spoke of professional military training. "Open a channel," Cross ordered. "Let's see if they're bluffing." Captain Torres's face appeared on the Vryn command screen. He didn't look nervous or intimidated. He looked calm, focused, and completely confident. Behind him, the Vryn could see a military bridge operating with smooth efficiency. "I am General Cross of the Vryn Empire. You are occupying territory we have claimed for expansion. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Torres smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I am Captain David Torres, commanding the Human Defensive Fleet. This system is inhabited by 40 million civilians under the protection of the Celestial Accord. You have no claim here. Withdraw and no one needs to get hurt," Cross laughed. Humans, we've studied your species. You're mediators and merchants. You don't fight. You don't conquer. You exist at the mercy of species willing to tolerate your presence. You've studied us, Torres agreed. But you studied the version of ourselves we wanted you to see. Let me educate you about humanity's true nature. We evolved on a planet called Earth. It was a world of predators and prey where only the strongest and smartest survived. We didn't evolve in peaceful waters or on safe plains. We evolved in competition with creatures that wanted to eat us. So you're saying you're predators? Cross seemed amused. We're saying we're apex predators, Torres corrected. The top of the food chain. We survived by being smarter, more adaptable, and more dangerous than anything else on our world. Then we chose to be civilized. We chose cooperation over competition, peace over war, diplomacy over destruction. But choice doesn't erase capability. We remember what we are when we need to remember. Interesting story, Cross said dismissively. But stories don't win battles. You're outnumbered 10-1. We have 200 warships. You have what, 20, 30? 147, Torres replied calmly. Plus ground forces, defensive satellites, and every human colonist in this cluster who knows how to fight. But numbers don't tell the whole story. You see, the Vryn Empire has been conquering peaceful species who don't understand warfare. You've gotten comfortable fighting beings who don't fight back. Torres leaned forward slightly. General Cross, we're giving you one chance. Turn your fleet around and leave. Go back to your empire and tell them that some territories are protected now. Tell them that if they want to conquer and enslave, they'll need to go through humanity first. And if we refuse your generous offer? Torres's expression didn't change. Then you'll learn what happens when hunters meet other hunters. You'll learn that humans are very, very good at pack tactics. We've had 300,000 years to perfect them. And most importantly, you'll learn the difference between conquerors and guardians. Which is, conquerors want to take things, guardians want to protect things. And there's nothing more dangerous than a guardian whose family is threatened. Torres gestured behind him to a display showing the Kepler worlds. You're threatening 40 million beings we consider part of our pack. That was your mistake. General Cross cut the communication channel. Prepare to attack. Target their flagship first. Let's see how confident these apex predators are when their leader is burning debris. The Vryn fleet surged forward, 200 warships moving to engage the human defensive line. On the Determination's bridge, Torres watched them come with the calm focus of someone who had trained for this moment their entire career. All ships, he broadcast. Remember your training. Pack tactics, coordinated strikes, protect the vulnerable. We're not trying to conquer them. We're teaching them that some prey fights back. And when that prey evolved as hunters, the lesson is painful. The Vryn dreadnought opened fire, massive energy beams lancing across space toward the human flagship. Torres's ship dodged with agility that shouldn't have been possible for a vessel its size. The human fleet didn't hold a rigid defensive line like traditional military formations. They moved like a living thing, individual vessels supporting each other, creating overlapping fields of fire, adapting to threats in real time. It was pack hunting adapted for space warfare, and the Vryn had never encountered anything like it. The first Vryn attack wave hit the human defensive perimeter and found themselves surrounded by smaller human vessels that attacked from multiple angles simultaneously. It was the same tactic human ancestors had used to hunt mammoths, wound the larger prey from many directions. Don't give it time to focus on any single threat. Wear it down through coordinated effort. 3 Vryn destroyers exploded within the first 5 minutes of combat. The larger dreadnoughts tried to adapt, but the humans were always one step ahead. Anticipating moves, exploiting weaknesses, fighting with a tactical sophistication that came from millions of years of evolutionary pressure. On Kepler 7's surface, Maya Patel watched the battle in orbit through tactical displays in the command bunker. Her students were safe in deeper shelters, protected by layers of defense. Now she stood with other humans, weapons ready, prepared to fight if any Vryn forces made it through the orbital defense. They're good, observed Marcus Webb, a colonist who had been a farmer 3 days ago. Our people, I mean. They're making it look easy. It's not easy, Maya replied. Every move up there is calculated. Every ship that engages is supported by 2 others. Every attack creates an opening for the next attack. It's coordination at a level that takes years of training. How long do you think we've been preparing for this? Since we left Earth, Maya said. since the moment we realized we were alone in a galaxy that didn't understand what it meant to survive through conflict. We've been quietly, carefully, patiently preparing to protect ourselves and everyone around us. In orbit, General Cross was experiencing something unfamiliar: doubt. His fleet outnumbered the humans significantly, but they were losing vessels at an alarming rate. Every time his forces tried to engage, the human ships would scatter and regroup, hitting his formations from unexpected angles. They fought with a creativity and adaptability that his rigid military doctrine couldn't counter. "They're not fighting like military vessels," his tactical officer reported. "They're fighting like a hunting pack. They're herding us, isolating our ships, picking them off one by one." Cross watched another of his cruisers explode, torn apart by focused fire from 4 human vessels that had coordinated their attack perfectly. "How many have we lost?" 37 ships destroyed, 23 damaged. "We've destroyed only 6 human vessels. 6 out of 147. The numbers were devastating. The Vryn Empire had never experienced resistance like this. Captain Torres's face appeared on Cross's screen again, uninvited. "General, I'm offering you a second chance. Withdraw now. Take your remaining ships and go home. Tell your Emperor that humanity draws a line here. Tell him we'll defend every peaceful world in the Accord. Tell him the age of easy conquest is over." Cross stared at the human captain, seeing something in his eyes that the general had never seen in any Accord species before. It was the look of a predator who was offering mercy but didn't require it. The look of someone who could kill you but was giving you the choice to live. It was the look of an apex predator showing restraint. "If I withdraw, my Emperor will send a larger fleet," Cross warned. "Then we'll defeat a larger fleet," Torres replied simply. "We didn't want this, General. We wanted to live peacefully among the stars. But if violence is coming regardless, we'll meet it on our terms. We'll protect the innocent, defend the weak, and teach aggressive empires that there are consequences for threatening civilians." Torres's expression softened slightly. "You're a soldier, General. You follow orders. I respect that. So I'm giving you the choice your Emperor never gave the beings you've conquered. Leave with honor or die with glory. Either way, the Kepler cluster remains free." General Cross looked at his tactical displays, at his shattered fleet, at the human vessels that had barely been scratched despite being significantly outnumbered at the start of combat. He thought about the reports from his previous conquests: peaceful species who didn't resist, who couldn't comprehend warfare, who surrendered rather than fight. These humans were different. They understood warfare at a fundamental level. They had evolved for it, trained for it, prepared for it while pretending to be something harmless. They were predators wearing sheep's clothing, and he had made the mistake of treating them like sheep. "All ships," Cross ordered. "Cease fire. Begin withdrawal from the system." The Vryn fleet turned and departed, leaving behind debris and wreckage but taking with them a lesson that would spread throughout their empire. Some prey was no longer prey. Some peaceful species had guardians now, and those guardians remembered what it meant to hunt. On the Determination's bridge, Captain Torres watched the Vryn fleet retreat. His crew erupted in cheers, but he remained quiet, thinking about the cost of what they had just done. 6 human ships lost with all hands, brave people who had died protecting others. But 40 million civilians in the Kepler cluster would wake up tomorrow free and alive. Human and alien children would go to school together. Families would continue building lives together. Peace would continue because someone had been strong enough to fight for it. Director James Kovac's face appeared on Torres's communication screen. "Well done, Captain. You've just changed history. We all did, Director. Every human who maintained the peaceful facade for 80 years made this possible. We built trust while building defenses. We made friends while making preparations. Now we've proven we can be both peaceful neighbors and effective guardians. The Accord Council wants to speak with you," James said. "They have questions," Torres smiled. "I bet they do. Tell them I'll answer every question honestly. No more secrets. We're showing them who we really are. All of it, the gentle and the dangerous, the peaceful and the protective. They can decide if they want humanity as guardians or just as neighbors. And if they reject us, then we'll protect them anyway," Torres replied. "Because that's what guardians do. We don't protect people because they trust us. We protect them because they need protecting." Across the galaxy, the news of the Battle of Kepler cluster spread rapidly. The Celestial Accord had just learned that one of its member species, possessed military capabilities that had been hidden for 8 decades. The revelation should have caused fear and distrust. Instead, something unexpected happened. The peaceful species of the Accord realized they weren't defenseless anymore. The farmers, artists, and philosophers who had built a galaxy-spanning civilization of cooperation now had guardians who understood both peace and war, and humanity had proven they could be trusted with power because they had chosen restraint when they could have chosen conquest. The sleeping giants had awakened. The galaxy trembled, and then it breathed a little easier, knowing that predators were hunting predators now, and the innocent had protectors who remembered what it meant to fight for family. Guardians of the Stars, a emergency session of the Celestial Accord Council, convened 48 hours after the Battle of Kepler Cluster. Representatives from all 237 member species filled the Grand Chamber, creating a kaleidoscope of forms: crystalline beings, energy entities, aquatic creatures in environmental suits, beings of pure thought, and everything in between. At the center stood Director James Kovac, Dr. Elena Reeves, and Captain David Torres, representing humanity. The atmosphere was tense. Enormous holographic displays showed footage from the battle, tactical analyses, and damage assessments. The peaceful species of the Accord were confronting something their cultures had no framework for understanding: organized military action conducted with precision and restraint. Council Leader. Vexian's crystalline form glowed with uncertain colors as he addressed the assembly. We have witnessed something unprecedented in Accord history. A member species engaged in large-scale military conflict, revealing capabilities that were hidden from this council for 80 years. We must determine humanity's place in our civilization moving forward. Thalos, the Xinthian representative, spoke up. His species evolved in peaceful underwater cities and had no concept of warfare until they joined the Accord. I do not question humanity's intentions during the battle. They protected 40 million beings, including 30 million non-humans. But the deception troubles me. How can we trust a species that hid their true nature for 8 decades? Elena Reeves stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. With respect, Council Member Thalos, we showed you exactly what we wanted you to see, but we never lied. Every human you met genuinely wanted peace. Our artists created beauty. Our teachers educated children. Our farmers grew food. Those weren't disguises. They were real parts of who we are. But you also prepared for war. Thalos protested. We prepared to defend against war. Elena corrected. There's a difference. We've had this conversation before, but I'll say it again because it's fundamental to understanding humanity. We evolved on a world where violence was common. We learned to be capable of violence not because we enjoyed it, but because incapability meant extinction. Then we chose civilization. We chose cooperation. But we remembered our capabilities because forgetting would be irresponsible. Captain Torres pulled up a holographic display showing human history. Look at our development. For thousands of years we fought each other. We had wars, conflicts, territorial disputes. Then gradually we learned to cooperate. We built the United Earth government 400 years ago and ended global conflict. But we didn't achieve peace by forgetting how to fight. We achieved it by understanding the cost of fighting and choosing not to pay that cost unless absolutely necessary. And you determined it was necessary at Kepler Cluster, said Council Member Orath, a towering crystalline being whose species communicated through light pulses. Who gave humanity the authority to make that decision? James Kovac spoke with quiet intensity. The 40 million civilians who were about to be killed or enslaved gave us that authority. The Vryn fleet wasn't coming for negotiation. They had conquered 12 systems before Kepler, and the Accord's diplomatic solutions failed every single time. How many more failures would you accept before acknowledging that some threats cannot be negotiated with? The chamber fell silent. It was an uncomfortable truth. The Accord's foundational principle was that all conflicts could be resolved through dialogue and understanding. The Vryn Empire had proven that principle false, and none of the peaceful species knew how to adapt. A new voice entered the discussion. General Cross of the Vryn Empire appeared on the communication screens, his reptilian features showing something the Accord had never seen from him before. Respect. I am addressing the Council with permission from Emperor Vryn himself. We wish to offer testimony about the human military action at Kepler Cluster. Vexian's colors shifted to surprised purple. General Cross, you lost 37 warships in that battle. Why would you testify on humanity's behalf? Because they offered us mercy when they could have annihilated us, Cross replied bluntly. My fleet outnumbered theirs significantly at the start of combat. By every tactical analysis, we should have won. Instead, the humans dismantled our formations with coordinated tactics we couldn't counter. They fought with a sophistication that comes from evolutionary pressure my species never experienced. He paused, and his expression softened slightly. But more importantly, they offered us multiple chances to withdraw. Captain Torres could have destroyed my flagship. He had clear shots at my command center. Instead, he targeted our weapons and engines, disabling ships rather than destroying them when possible. He fought like a warrior protecting his home, not a conqueror seeking territory. Torres inclined his head respectfully. Your people followed orders, General. They weren't evil. They were soldiers serving an empire with expansionist policies. We had no desire to kill them unless they forced us to. That restraint is why I'm advocating for humanity, Cross continued. The Vryn Empire has reconsidered its expansion policies. We engaged 12 peaceful species who couldn't defend themselves. Then we met a species that could defend themselves and chose to offer us mercy instead of revenge. That taught us more than any diplomatic mission could have. The implications rippled through the chamber. An aggressive empire had been turned back not through destruction, but through demonstrated strength combined with offered mercy. It was a concept the peaceful Accord species found difficult to grasp, but couldn't deny was effective. Dr. Maya Patel entered the chamber, still wearing the practical clothing of a colony teacher. She approached the central platform where her human colleagues stood. Council members, I represent the civilians of Kepler-7. I've taught alien children in my school for 10 years. I've shared meals with Palaxian neighbors, attended Xinthian cultural festivals, and learned Etherian meditation techniques. Those experiences were real and meaningful. She gestured to her clothing. But I'm also a former military officer. I spent 15 years in Earth's defensive forces before becoming a teacher. Many human colonists have similar backgrounds. We came to the stars wanting to build peaceful lives, but we came prepared to defend those lives if necessary. That's not deception. That's responsibility. A young Palaxian entered the chamber, his fur still showing signs of recent stress. His name was Taral, and he had been one of Maya's students. I want to speak, he announced, his voice trembling but determined. Vexian looked surprised but nodded. You may address the council, young one. Taral stood before the assembled representatives of 237 species. When the Vryn ships came, I was scared. My species doesn't fight. We don't understand violence. But the humans protected us. Miss Patel carried me to the shelters. Human soldiers stood between us and the bad people. They didn't ask if we were human or Palaxian. They just protected us. His large eyes looked directly at Vexian. I heard you talking about trust and deception, but I trust humans more now than before. They could have left when danger came. They could have saved only their own families. But they saved everyone. They risked their lives for aliens they barely knew. That's who they really are. The simple testimony from a child carried weight that complex political arguments couldn't match. Around the chamber, delegates reconsidered their positions. The question wasn't whether humanity had deceived the Accord. The question was whether humanity had proven themselves worthy of trust despite, or perhaps because of, their hidden capabilities. Council member Orath's crystalline structure flickered thoughtfully. I wish to pose a question to Captain Torres. Your species possesses military capabilities that rival or exceed our most advanced member species. What prevents humanity from using that power for conquest, rather than defense? Torres considered the question carefully. Choice. Every day, every human in this galaxy makes a choice about who we want to be. We could conquer. Our military doctrine includes offensive strategies because understanding how to attack makes you better at defending. But we choose not to pursue conquest because it contradicts our values. He pulled up images from Earth. On our homeworld, we nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. We had weapons capable of rendering the entire planet uninhabitable. We came within moments of using them during periods of global conflict. But we chose not to. We chose survival over victory, cooperation over domination, peace over war. That history is what makes us dangerous, Elena added. Not because we might become conquerors, but because we understand the cost of conquest. We know what warfare does to civilizations. We know what weapons can do to innocent populations. We've lived through it, learned from it, and chosen to never repeat those mistakes. James Kovacs stepped forward. The Accord needs to make a decision. You can see humanity as a threat and isolate us, which is your right. Or you can recognize that we're offering something the Accord has never had, the capability to defend peaceful species against those who would harm them. You're asking to become the Accord's military force? Vexian asked. We're offering to be guardians, James corrected. There's a difference. A military force follows orders and pursues strategic objectives. Guardians protect those who cannot protect themselves and make moral choices about when and how to use force. We're proposing the creation of the Guardian Fleet, human vessels and personnel dedicated to defending Accord territories against external threats. Under whose authority? Demanded Council Member Wraith. Under Accord oversight, James replied. The Guardian Fleet would answer to this council. We would provide regular reports, accept observers on our ships, and submit to investigation if our actions are questioned. We're not asking for autonomy. We're asking for the trust to do what we're good at, protecting others. Torres added, with respect, the alternative is leaving the Accord defenseless. The Vryn Empire was the first aggressive force you've encountered, but they won't be the last. The galaxy is large. There are other species out there, some peaceful, some not. The Accord's philosophy works beautifully for interactions between peaceful civilizations, but it fails when one side doesn't share that philosophy. We've survived for 5 centuries without military forces, Thalos argued. Why do we need them now? Because the galaxy is changing, Elena said gently. The Accord has been expanding, meeting new species, exploring new territories. Statistically, it was inevitable you'd eventually encounter a species that doesn't share your values. The Vryn were the first. They won't be the last. You need to adapt or accept that your peaceful species will be vulnerable to any aggressive civilization you meet. The debate continued for hours. Species argued about trust, security, philosophy, and pragmatism. Some delegates wanted to reject humanity's offer entirely, fearing that militarization would corrupt the Accord's peaceful principles. Others recognized the reality that peace could only exist when protected from those who would violate it. Finally, Council Leader Vexian called for a vote. The proposal is, establish the Guardian Fleet under human command but Accord oversight. The fleet would be authorized to defend Accord territories and civilians against external threats. All actions must be reported to this council within 48 hours. The fleet accepts observers from member species who wish to monitor operations. Vote now. The voting took 15 minutes as representatives consulted with their governments across vast distances. When the results appeared on the displays, James felt something release in his chest that he hadn't realized he was holding. The measure passed with 198 votes in favor, 27 against, and 12 abstentions. Vexian's colors shifted to acceptance. By majority decision, the Guardian Fleet is established. Captain Torres, you are hereby appointed as the first fleet commander. Director Kovacs will serve as liaison between the fleet and this council. Dr. Reeves will lead the cultural integration program to help Accord species understand humanity's role. Torres saluted formally. The Guardian Fleet accepts this responsibility with humility and determination. We will protect all Accord species and territories to the best of our ability. We will use force only when necessary and with restraint when possible. We will be the shields between civilization and those who would harm it.